10 Steps to Eliminate Emotional Dependency, Stoicism. Have you ever felt like your happiness depends more on someone else's words or attention than on your own inner peace? It's time to break that invisible thread binding you to the emotional ups and downs of others. Think of emotional dependency like an untamed garden, wild, unruly, and waiting for someone else to care for it. In today's video on Stoic in Your Life, we'll dive into 10 powerful Stoic steps to help you reclaim control over your own emotions. Don't miss the last tip. It holds the key to making these strategies work in your life every day. Picture yourself as the ocean, vast, deep, and steady. The waves may rise and fall, but they don't define its depths. Are you ready to find your own strength and let go of emotional dependency? Let's get started. 1. Take care of your own plot. In a world full of distractions, obligations, and the constant pull of other people's emotions, many of us tend to overlook the one thing truly within our grasp: our own well-being. Picture your life as a garden. Now, if you neglect this garden, what do you get? Withered plants, flowers that never bloom, bushes that look more like dried twigs than vibrant life. Imagine a garden that's forgotten, lost to neglect. This is what happens when we ignore our own emotional needs and allow dependency on others to take over our lives. The Stoics remind us to focus on our own garden, to put time, attention, and care into nurturing what we can control, ourselves. As Epictetus wisely noted, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This message is crucial. Rather than trying to control the gardens of others, worrying about their feelings, actions, or opinions, it's time to direct that energy back toward cultivating our own lives with intention and clarity. So what does it mean to tend to your own garden in a practical sense? For one, it means identifying and prioritizing your own needs. Just as each plant requires its own amount of water and sunlight, so too do we need to understand our unique needs and values. Start by asking yourself what truly matters to you, and focus on that without being swayed by the expectations or opinions of others. If you find yourself leaning on others for validation or approval, it's like waiting for rain in a garden you haven't watered. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By refocusing on our inner garden, our mindset, actions, and values, we become resilient, less dependent on external sources for happiness, and instead rooted in our own strength. One of the most effective ways to water your own garden is through self-care. This isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, especially for men aged 40 to 70 who may be juggling various roles: providers, mentors, leaders, and loved ones. Self-care could be as simple as setting aside quiet time for reflection, physical exercise, or pursuing a hobby that recharges you. Each small act of self-nurturing is like watering your plants, pulling out weeds, and ensuring that what matters most has room to grow. Remember Seneca's advice: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." By simplifying, focusing on what you can manage, and letting go of unnecessary dependencies, you enrich your own life in ways that material gains or fleeting pleasures never could. Additionally, caring for your own garden means learning to establish healthy boundaries. Emotional dependency often arises from a place of blurred lines, where we put our happiness in the hands of others and expect them to fulfill us. To avoid this, practice setting clear, compassionate boundaries. This could mean saying no to situations that drain you, limiting time with people who don't respect your limits, or simply being more mindful of your own emotional energy. Setting boundaries isn't about isolation. It's about preserving your inner peace and ensuring you have the strength to show up fully for yourself and those you care about. "He who is brave is free," said Seneca, reminding us that true freedom comes from standing firm in what we can control and releasing what we cannot. This process also involves constant self-reflection. As your garden grows, make it a habit to check in with yourself. Regularly ask, "Am I placing my happiness in the hands of others?" If so, gently guide yourself back to what you can influence. Emotional dependency, at its core, is often an avoidance of self-work, a reliance on others to fill the gaps we haven't addressed in ourselves. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. Reflecting on our choices and habits helps us see where we might still be dependent and empowers us to take full ownership of our lives. At the end of the day, our lives are our gardens, and the most beautiful garden is the one that's tended with care, attention, and love. Rather than focusing on what others are doing or hoping for external change, we thrive when we direct our energy inward. Just as a well-tended garden bursts with life, a life cultivated with dedication and purpose blossoms in ways that are both resilient and fulfilling. If you want a garden full of life and vitality, water it yourself. Tend to it daily with commitment and joy. In the words of Epictetus, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Let this be a reminder that a flourishing life isn't achieved by accumulating external validations, but by investing deeply in the inner soil of our own well-being. So, dear friend, the garden you desire is within your reach. Let go of dependency on others to bring you fulfillment and start nurturing yourself with the same dedication gardener gives to his most prized plants. Through self-awareness, boundaries, and self-care, you create a life that's vibrant and self-sustaining. And as you cultivate this inner garden, you'll find that true freedom and contentment come not from what others give you, but from what you give yourself. 2. Stop being demanding and say goodbye to perfectionism. Stop to consider how exhausting it is to chase perfection, only to end up feeling more anxious and less satisfied. It's like trying to catch a falling star with a butterfly net. A beautiful thought in theory, but completely impossible in practice. Perfectionism might seem like a noble aim, but it becomes a trap, a constant whisper reminding you that you could have done better, achieved more, or been more. It pushes you to work endless hours, triple-check every detail, and scrutinize your every action, only to feel that somehow it's still not enough. While you're tangled up in this endless pursuit, life moves on without waiting for you to get it just right. It's as if you're painting a masterpiece on a blank canvas, and each brushstroke is scrutinized until the image is lost under layers of adjustments, too muddled to capture the original vision. This is the struggle of perfectionism, a relentless chase for an ideal that only complicates things, leaving us tired and feeling less accomplished. In Stoic philosophy, perfection isn't the goal, serenity and self-acceptance are. Marcus Aurelius understood that life isn't about everything going as planned, but about responding gracefully to what comes our way. Rather than demanding an impossible standard from ourselves, the Stoics teach us to accept things as they are and focus on what we can control. How often do we stress over details we think must be flawless, only to realize that our mental and emotional well-being is far more important? When we shift from perfection to presence, we open the door to genuine growth. As Epictetus wisely said, "The perfection is the enemy of inner peace." The first step in breaking free from perfectionism is to set realistic expectations. Holding yourself to unreachable standards guarantees only frustration and self-doubt. Instead of striving for perfection in every task, focus on doing your best in the present moment. After all, the value of your work is not defined by a lack of mistakes, but by the effort and willingness to learn from those mistakes. Another important shift is to celebrate even small achievements. Perfectionism tells us that only the grand accomplishments count, but Stoicism reminds us that each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Learning to acknowledge these moments builds a healthier mindset that propels you forward without the burden of perfection. By valuing effort over flawlessness, you'll find satisfaction and growth without self-criticism holding you back. Small wins, whether completing a task or making a thoughtful decision, are worth celebrating because they reflect the courage to act, rather than an obsession with a perfect outcome. Embracing this mindset can help you move forward with confidence, realizing that life itself is a journey, not a perfectly staged event. One key lesson the Stoics offer is the importance of viewing personal and professional growth as a marathon, not a sprint. Chasing perfection can feel like a high-speed race, one where the finish line keeps moving, and you're forever just out of reach. Accept that growth takes time, and mistakes are part of the process. If you release the need to be flawless, you make space for authentic learning, the kind that leaves a lasting impact. The imperfections we fear are often the best teachers, and when we allow ourselves the grace to be imperfect, we're much more likely to achieve meaningful progress. The race to be perfect robs us of our peace, so instead of criticizing yourself for not reaching an impossible standard, welcome imperfection as a chance to grow and deepen your understanding. Letting go of the need to be demanding and abandoning perfectionism allows you to live more fully and meaningfully. Life doesn't require you to be perfect. It simply needs you to be genuine, committed, and open to growth. Perfection is an illusion, one that drains us of inner peace and robs us of the joy that comes from being present in the moment. When you release the net and stop chasing that fleeting idea of perfection, you'll find that life is richer, more satisfying, and less stressful. Instead of striving for flawless execution, focus on authenticity and perseverance, qualities that lead to genuine success and fulfillment. Remember, as the Stoics have taught us, the journey is far more valuable than any ideal of perfection could ever be. Embrace your imperfections and approach each day with gratitude, knowing that true peace comes not from reaching an imagined ideal, but from accepting and appreciating the present. 3. Meet new people. Expanding your social circle and meeting new people isn't just an opportunity. It's an essential journey toward greater emotional independence, resilience, and fulfillment. For many, the idea of stepping out and connecting with strangers may seem intimidating, like trying to tame a wild dragon. But there's no need to be a heroic figure to conquer this task. It simply requires curiosity and an openness to growth. Consider this quote from the Stoic philosopher Seneca: "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. When we form meaningful connections, we enrich our lives with fresh perspectives and insights, which help us grow beyond our usual self-perception and habits." It's crucial to understand that if we lean too heavily on one or two people for all our emotional needs, we risk creating an unbalanced dependency that can lead to frustration for both ourselves and those around us. Building a diverse network of connections allows us to stand more firmly on our own, rooted in a strong foundation, rather than relying solely on a select few to fulfill our emotional needs. So if your comfort zone feels like a safe but small room, perhaps it's time to look outside that space and breathe in the invigorating air of new friendships and experiences. If you've ever felt trapped in a social routine, it can feel like watching the same movie on repeat, predictable, safe, but missing the excitement of the unknown. Meeting new people can break you out of this rut. But remember, it's not about diving into crowded events and filling your calendar with every social invitation. It's about taking small, mindful steps outside your usual environment. Start with a casual conversation, a shared interest, or simply listening to someone else's story with genuine interest. The Stoics, renowned for their insights on self-reflection, also believed deeply in the value of conversation and connection. They understood that engaging with others gives us a mirror through which we see ourselves more clearly. Each person we meet has their own experiences and viewpoints, and by being open to learning from others, we gain valuable perspectives that enhance our own understanding of life. Epictetus reminds us of the importance of listening. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. By embracing this wisdom, we begin to see each interaction as a chance to learn, rather than simply a place to share our own stories. Of course, the fear of rejection can be a powerful deterrent to reaching out. If you've ever hesitated to start a conversation, worrying about how it might go or fearing awkward moments, know that this is perfectly normal. It's a universal feeling, but one that the Stoics would advise us to handle with resilience and grace. Every interaction, even the uncomfortable ones, offers an opportunity for personal growth. Life isn't about creating flawless interactions. It's about embracing the imperfections and learning from each moment. So if a conversation doesn't unfold the way you hoped, don't dwell on it. See it as a learning experience that helps you build inner strength. The Stoics emphasized focusing only on what we can control, and in social interactions this means doing your best to be open and present, and then allowing the outcome to unfold naturally. In today's world, filled with social media, filters, and superficial interactions, authenticity has become a powerful asset. People often feel pressured to present a polished, perfect version of themselves. But imagine for a moment what it would feel like to show up as your true self, letting go of the need to impress others. This is a key Stoic principle: to be genuine, to live according to your true values. When you embrace authenticity, you not only cultivate inner peace, but you also attract others who value you for who you are. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare, and people are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin. Meeting new people, at its core, is a journey of discovery, not only of others, but of yourself. Each interaction gives you a chance to practice resilience and to become less dependent on others for validation. Every time you open yourself to a new experience, truly listen to someone else, or accept the discomfort of stepping outside your comfort zone, you are cultivating emotional strength. You're learning to rely less on others for your happiness and fulfillment, creating a life that's grounded in your own sense of self-worth. Genuine connections aren't about quantity but quality. They're built on a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and shared experiences. By focusing on depth rather than breadth, you cultivate a social network that supports your growth rather than drains your energy. You don't need to seek out hundreds of connections to be fulfilled. Sometimes a handful of meaningful relationships is all it takes. Expanding your social circle is not about winning a popularity contest. It's about creating a rich, emotionally resilient life. Each new person you meet is like a new chapter in a book, offering fresh insights and experiences that can shape and inspire you. In the grand scheme of life, building connections is not a random act, but a purposeful journey toward becoming a fuller, more emotionally grounded person. It's about taking steps toward independence, courage, and authenticity. Brian Tracy once said, "The true test of growth is when you meet new people, broaden your mind, and see what you've been missing." When you approach the world with genuine curiosity and openness, every interaction becomes an opportunity to learn and grow. So as you go forward, ask yourself, will you open yourself to new people, new experiences, and allow each encounter to add a new layer to your understanding of yourself and the world around you? Will you allow each interaction, even the imperfect ones, to teach you something valuable? Embracing this journey might be the key to a richer, more resilient life, one where you stand strong, not because you are surrounded by people, but because you have learned to connect deeply and live authentically. 4. Do pleasurable activities. The art of truly enjoying leisure in a way that renews you. We're not talking about flopping on the couch, drifting through channels, or scrolling endlessly through social media feeds. We're talking about transforming free time into something intentional, an act of self-care that speaks to your values and uplifts your spirit. In our fast-paced world, we often view time off as a rare commodity, only meant to be savored when we're completely exhausted or burnt out, when we've given every last ounce of energy to the demands of work, family, and daily life. But here's where the Stoics, with their timeless insights on focusing on what's within our control and releasing what isn't, have a lesson for us. For them, time wasn't something to be wasted or even used up. Rather, it was a precious resource to be cultivated with care. Leisure, when approached thoughtfully, becomes not just a break, but an opportunity to enrich our lives, nourish our spirits, and even learn something new about ourselves. Think about it this way. What if you treated your free time like a garden? If you simply leave it alone, it becomes overgrown with weeds, mindless activities that fill the hours but leave you feeling empty. Yet if you plant it with care, adding activities and experiences that bring true pleasure and growth, the time becomes vibrant, meaningful, and restorative. These moments of leisure are not just distractions. They're carefully chosen flowers you cultivate to renew your energy and bring a sense of beauty to your life. Of course, not all flowers offer the same depth of experience, and not every leisure activity will leave you feeling refreshed. A meaningful pastime should nurture you, challenge you, and allow you to grow, rather than act as a mere escape from reality. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This insight reminds us that the quality of how we spend our time, what we focus on, and how we engage with it truly matters. So ask yourself, what kinds of thoughts and feelings do you want to cultivate during your free time? Instead of falling into the endless scrolling trap or losing hours to distractions, consider choosing something that actually enriches your life. Reading, for example, can be a deeply rewarding way to spend your time. And I'm not just talking about flipping through the latest bestseller. Think about exploring texts that expand your mind and give you a larger perspective, such as the writings of the great Stoic philosophers themselves. Imagine the effect of delving into Seneca's thoughts on resilience or Epictetus's lessons on acceptance. These aren't just books, they're timeless conversations that offer insights into handling life's trials and growing stronger from them. Or if you're drawn to the arts, try something creative, painting, playing a musical instrument, or even building something with your hands. These activities engage more than just your attention. They invite you to express, challenge, and find yourself within the process. You don't have to be a professional. You're doing it for you. And as you work, think about how each brushstroke or note played adds layers of growth to your inner world. When you invest in activities that align with your values, you're not just spending time. You're enriching your life and giving yourself a foundation that supports emotional independence. However, this doesn't mean every moment of downtime should be spent on intense personal development. Sometimes the most meaningful use of free time is simply enjoying a quiet moment in nature, watching the sun set, or going for a walk without any particular destination. The key here is intention. Leisure becomes valuable when it's chosen, purposefully, not as an escape but as a way to reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. Just as the Stoics taught us to be mindful of our actions and to focus on what we can control, we can apply this same principle to our free time. When leisure is approached with intention, it transforms. It ceases to be merely time off and becomes a true source of rejuvenation, insight, and peace. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them." These moments, approached with intention, remind us of the larger beauty and purpose of life, inviting us to find joy and meaning in the present. When you next find yourself with a stretch of free time, resist the urge to simply fill it with fleeting distractions. Instead, take a step back and ask yourself, how can you use this time to cultivate your own inner garden in a way that will bring you lasting satisfaction? How can you turn these hours into an investment that renews your spirit and enriches your life? Remember, well-managed leisure isn't just about feeling entertained. It's a deep investment in your own well-being and emotional resilience. This is time to nurture your inner world and to create a sense of contentment that no external validation can provide. Leisure, well spent, builds a stronger foundation for navigating life's ups and downs. As Marcus Aurelius beautifully put it, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. With this understanding, we realize that the quality of our free time, just like the quality of our lives, is within our control. So I challenge you, how can you transform your free time into a period of real growth, relaxation, and renewal? Will you use it to nurture yourself, develop your passions, or connect more deeply with the world around you? There's no right answer, only a personal commitment to use each moment of leisure as a chance to enrich your life. Instead of seeking distractions to fill the void, why not choose activities that allow you to grow and recharge? Embrace leisure as an art, an intentional choice, and as a powerful way to invest in your well-being. If you've made it this far, you're already stepping into your own strength. Drop a comment saying, "I choose freedom," to show you're committed to breaking free from emotional dependency. Stick around. Your journey to inner peace has just begun. 5. Spend time with yourself. Let's dive into a concept that seems simple but can feel as daunting as a shark in a bathtub: spending time with yourself. Yes, I'm talking about that solo time you may have been dodging like a ninja, filling the gaps with work, friends, or endless TV shows. But why is it that being alone with ourselves can feel so uncomfortable? Is it because we're avoiding something within ourselves? Or perhaps we just prefer the noise and distraction that keep deeper thoughts at bay? The Stoics, those wise thinkers of the ancient world who lived without today's motivational memes, understood the value of solitude. They taught that real freedom begins with finding comfort in our own company. To them, relying on others to fill our emotional needs was like wearing chains that limited our inner peace. So maybe it's time to take a page from their book and explore what it means to truly enjoy being alone. After all, as Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. If you only spend time in that garden when there's company around, it's bound to become overgrown with weeds and pests. Only by regularly tending to it, alone, and without the distraction of others, can you truly see it flourish. This is exactly how it works with your emotional well-being. It's not about being alone for the sake of it, but about using that time to nurture yourself, reflect, and grow. But let's be honest. How often do we prioritize moments like these? Many of us fill every spare moment with noise, feeling that time spent alone could somehow be less productive or even unsettling. But that's the challenge and reward of solitude. When we take time to be with ourselves, we create space to understand who we are beneath the layers of everyday roles, expectations, and external influences. Let's start embracing these moments of solitude. Begin by choosing an activity you enjoy that doesn't require anyone else's presence. It doesn't have to be monumental or transformative. Even a simple walk, reading a book, or jotting down thoughts in a journal can be meaningful if done with intention. The point is to find something that allows you to connect with yourself in a genuine way, without the constant influx of outside opinions. Think about how rare and valuable these moments are. Times when you get to be fully, unapologetically yourself, without the need for performance or approval. At first it may feel strange, like learning to ride a bike for the first time. Wobbly and unsure. But eventually you might find that this is a time you actually look forward to, a sanctuary from the world where you can recharge and reflect. Another helpful approach is meditation, though it doesn't need to be sitting in a lotus position with eyes closed and mind blank. Simply spending a few minutes focusing on your breath, being present, and tuning into yourself can offer incredible clarity and peace. The ability to reflect without the distraction of external noise is essential for inner peace. They believe that being at ease with oneself is a vital skill, one that frees us from constantly seeking validation from others. As Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." Time spent with yourself isn't a punishment or a lonely exile. It's a gift, an opportunity to get to know your thoughts without the constant background of others, opinions, and agendas. Just think of it as tending to that inner garden we talked about, pulling out the weeds, admiring the landscape, and maybe even planting seeds for something new and fulfilling. When you spend time alone, you become more grounded, less swayed by others' judgments or actions, and far more connected to your own needs and values. And if you ever feel tempted to avoid that time alone, remember that solitude is a path to real freedom, an independence that isn't rooted in anyone else's actions or reactions. Time alone is where you meet your truest self, and this relationship is perhaps the most important one you'll ever cultivate. As Carl Jung eloquently said, loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the discovery of oneself. Embracing solitude allows us to meet that best companion, the part of ourselves that is resilient, insightful, and whole without needing others to complete us. So, next time you find yourself on the verge of dodging those quiet moments, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of finding? And consider that in your own company, you may uncover peace and insight that the distractions of the outside world can't offer. Time spent alone is time invested in understanding, accepting, and growing. 6. Learn to say no. Learning to say no is perhaps one of the most empowering skills we can cultivate, yet it's something so many of us struggle with every day. In our world, filled with constant demands, endless obligations, and the pressure to please, finding the space to say no can feel like an impossible task. We've all been there, juggling work, family, friendships, and the barrage of requests that come our way until it feels like we're performing in a never-ending circus. If you want to break free from the need for approval and regain control of your life, learning to say no is crucial. This isn't about rejecting others or being unkind. It's about protecting your energy, setting boundaries, and understanding that you cannot, and should not, be everything for everyone. As the Stoics teach, real freedom and peace come not from trying to meet every demand placed upon us, but from being able to stand firm in our own values and choices. Imagine for a moment that your life is like a beautiful garden. Every commitment, every favor you agree to, and every request you say yes to is like a plant in that garden. At first it may seem harmless, maybe even beneficial, adding new life and variety to the landscape. But if you're not careful, your garden can quickly become an overgrown jungle, full of plants competing for light and space, where even you get lost, unable to find a clear path to the things that truly matter. Learning to say no is like taking the role of the gardener, keeping that space balanced, removing what doesn't belong, and maintaining room for what truly matters. This way, your garden isn't overtaken by obligations that drain you, but instead flourishes with the things that genuinely bring joy and peace. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Each no you say isn't a rejection of others. It's a deliberate choice to protect the life you're building for yourself. But why is it so hard to say no? Many of us feel a strong need to be liked, to be seen as dependable, and to avoid conflict at all costs. So we end up saying yes to things that don't align with our priorities, just to keep the peace or prevent others from feeling disappointed. It's natural to want to help, but have you ever considered the cost of all these yeses? How much time, energy, and peace of mind are you giving up each time you agree to something that doesn't serve your own well-being? This is where the wisdom of the Stoics can guide us. They believed that true strength lies in our ability to control our own actions and reactions rather than being swayed by external expectations. Saying no is an act of courage, a step toward taking back control over your life. In a world that constantly pulls us in all directions, learning to say no is a form of self-respect and inner strength. Let's begin the journey of setting boundaries with grace. Start small. You don't have to make a grand stand with every no. Begin with the minor requests that don't align with your priorities. Let's say a friend asks you to host a last-minute gathering, but you had planned for a quiet evening to recharge. Instead of scrambling for an excuse, simply and calmly say, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I won't be able to do it this time." This may feel awkward at first, but each time you assert your boundaries, you reclaim a bit more of your own life and lessen the grip that the need for approval has on you. Another approach is to practice assertive, yet respectful refusals. This isn't about shutting people out, but communicating clearly and kindly. For example, if someone requests your help with a project you don't have the time or energy for, try saying, "I appreciate the offer, but I'm focusing on other priorities right now." No need for elaborate justifications, just a clear, respectful boundary that lets others know you're valuing your time as much as you value theirs. The Stoics knew well that peace of mind is a rare and precious gift, one that's all too easy to sacrifice in our quest for external validation. Epictetus reminded us that no person is free who is not master of himself. When you allow yourself to be constantly pulled into others' plans, priorities, and demands, you become a prisoner of their expectations, losing sight of what's truly important to you. Saying no isn't selfish. It's a powerful act of self-care, an acknowledgement that your time and energy are finite and that you're allowed, indeed responsible, to use them wisely. Think about the last time you said yes to something you truly didn't want to do. How did it feel afterward? Were you drained, frustrated, or resentful? Each of those feelings is a signal that your boundaries have been crossed and that your life is becoming overcrowded with obligations that don't serve you. By saying no to what doesn't align with your values, you create the room to say yes to what truly matters. As Oscar Wilde once observed, it is not weakness to say no. It is strength to recognize your limits. Learning to say no is a commitment to living authentically, free from the constant pressure to meet everyone's expectations. It's about choosing the life you want, not the one that others impose upon you. Each no you say makes room for more of what fulfills you. More time with loved ones, more energy for your passions, more clarity for your goals. You'll find that with every boundary you set, you're not pushing people away. Rather, you're drawing closer to the life you genuinely want to live. Saying no becomes a declaration of independence, a step toward building a life where you're not overwhelmed by external obligations, but grounded in your own purpose and joy. When you find yourself tempted to say yes out of habit or fear, pause and ask yourself, is this truly what I want? How will this commitment affect my peace of mind, my time, and my ability to pursue the things that bring me happiness? Every no you say isn't just a refusal. It's a powerful reminder that you're choosing to protect the life you're creating. This is where real freedom lies. Not in pleasing everyone, but in living a life that aligns with your values. Like the Stoics, who found strength in self-mastery and independence, you too can find peace in honoring your own limits. Let every no be a gift you give yourself, a small but significant step toward a life that's truly your own. 7. Invest in yourself. Let's settle in and talk about something that might feel uncomfortable but is essential to a balanced, fulfilling life. Investing in yourself without guilt. Yes, this means spending time, energy, and yes, even money on things that may not provide instant gratification, but instead nourish your long-term well-being. It's easy to get caught up in the distractions of modern life, where there's always a new gadget, a nicer car, or another shiny object promising happiness. Yet, as soon as we indulge in these pleasures, we're often left wanting more, constantly searching outside ourselves for fulfillment. But here's the truth that the Stoics knew well. Real satisfaction, the kind that brings peace and contentment, can't be bought. It comes from cultivating inner strength, from valuing yourself enough to prioritize your own growth and well-being. This isn't selfish. It's the most meaningful investment you can make, one that pays dividends in resilience, purpose, and emotional stability. Imagine for a moment that your life is like an exotic plant. It needs sunlight, water, and nutrients to thrive, not just a beautiful pot to sit in. You wouldn't expect this plant to flourish if you only watered it occasionally, would you? Investing in yourself works the same way. It's about giving yourself the things you need to grow, even if they don't offer instant rewards. The ancient Stoics knew this well. They believed that the greatest investment was not in things, but in self-discipline, wisdom, and inner tranquility. Seneca once said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little," which reminds us that true riches are found in nurturing our inner resources, not in chasing external ones. This mindset frees us from the pressures of constantly seeking validation from material possessions or external approval, and instead grounds us in a sense of self-worth that doesn't waver. So what does it mean to invest in yourself? First, let's talk about time, the most valuable resource you have. Think of time as if you were training for a marathon. To run the race well, you need time to train, rest, and build endurance. If you rush through life without stopping to reflect, to learn, or to rest, it's like attempting to run a marathon without preparation. You're bound to exhaust yourself and fall short of your potential. Investing time in yourself could mean learning a new skill, taking time to meditate, reading a thought-provoking book, or even allowing yourself the luxury of rest. Each of these activities is like training for the marathon of life, preparing you to face its ups and downs with a calm, resilient mind. When you take time for yourself, you're not being selfish. You're cultivating the mental and emotional strength to be there for others without burning out. Next, let's consider the role of money in personal investment. In our consumer-driven world, We often think of spending on ourselves in terms of indulgence, a luxury car, a fancy dinner, or the latest tech gadget. But what if we shifted our view to see money as a tool for growth rather than temporary pleasure? Imagine choosing between an expensive dinner or a year-long gym membership. The dinner might offer a nice memory, but the gym membership has the potential to enhance your physical and mental health daily. Or consider spending on a course that challenges you to grow, a wellness retreat that revitalizes your spirit, or therapy that helps you understand yourself better. Each of these choices is an investment in the person you're becoming, not just in the person you are today. The key is to recognize that every dollar spent on genuine self-care is a step toward a better version of yourself, an act that aligns with what the Stoics would call living in accordance with nature, growing, evolving, and moving toward your highest potential. But what about the guilt? Ah, yes, guilt, that persistent companion that whispers, "Why are you spending on yourself when others need you?" Or, "Shouldn't you be doing something more productive?" The Stoics would remind us that guilt, overinvesting in ourselves, is just another distraction, pulling us away from what truly matters. In other words, rather than getting trapped in guilt or second-guessing, take the actions that contribute to your well-being with confidence. When you invest in yourself, you're not taking away from others. Instead, you're creating a stronger foundation for everything and everyone around you. You can't pour from an empty cup, and by prioritizing your well-being, you ensure you're at your best for those who rely on you. This is why self-investment isn't an act of ego. It's an act of wisdom. Think of it as fueling a well-tuned engine. A car without gas may look shiny and new, but it's going nowhere. Similarly, you can have every external marker of success, money, status, even relationships, but without internal well-being, these things lose their meaning. When you invest in yourself, you're filling your tank, giving yourself the energy to engage fully in life. These feelings are signals, reminders that it's time to pause and redirect your energy inward. When you listen to these cues, you're doing the wise thing. Just as the Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, you too can choose to nurture yourself, filling your mind with knowledge, your body with health, and your heart with peace. So, how do you start investing in yourself? Today? Begin by identifying one area where you feel drawn to grow. Maybe it's health, knowledge, or emotional well-being, and commit to small, consistent actions. If it's health, dedicate a bit of time each day to exercise or choose nourishing foods. If it's knowledge, pick up a book that challenges your perspective or enroll in a course that interests you. And if it's emotional well-being, consider practicing meditation or journaling to process your thoughts. Remember, self-investment doesn't have to be expensive or extravagant. It's about choosing the things that genuinely help you thrive. And if you ever feel a pang of guilt or self-doubt creeping in, remember the words of Albert Einstein. In life, investing in oneself is the only expense that yields lasting returns. These investments pay off not just today, but tomorrow, and every day thereafter. Each step you take to prioritize yourself is a declaration that you value your life, your health, and your happiness. It's a statement that you're committed to becoming the best version of yourself, not only for your benefit but for those around you. So next time you catch yourself thinking twice about dedicating time or resources to your own well-being, pause and remind yourself you're not being selfish, you're not indulging. You're wisely cultivating a life that is grounded, resilient, and meaningful. And as you continue to invest in yourself, you'll find that the peace, strength, and wisdom you gain radiate outward, benefiting not only you, but everyone you encounter. In this way, self-investment becomes an act of service, a choice to contribute your best self to the world. 8. Set your unbreakable boundaries in a new relationship. Love, that whirlwind of emotions, can often make us feel like leaping headfirst off a cliff without a parachute, driven by the hope of a happy ending. But before you plunge into a new relationship, have you ever paused to create a list of red flags? Those early warning signs that, like a flashing danger sign at a construction site, are ignored only at your own peril? Taking time to understand what your boundaries and deal breakers are before diving in can save you from future heartbreak, helping you approach love with the calm wisdom of the Stoics. That's where your red flag list comes into play, a trusted guide that helps you identify potential relationship issues early on. Picture this scenario. You meet someone who seems perfect on the surface, but soon they start showing signs of excessive emotional dependency. They're calling you 20 times a day, constantly checking your phone and gradually treating you like their personal therapist. If emotional dependency is on your list of red flags, you've been given a clear signal that this relationship vehicle may not be equipped for the journey ahead. Creating your list is as important as it is straightforward. Reflect on your past relationships and identify the behaviors or attitudes that brought you stress, discomfort, or frustration. Perhaps you've experienced a partner who showed a tendency toward manipulation, a disregard for boundaries, or a habit of making you responsible for their happiness. Use these experiences as a foundation, writing down these behaviors as filters that help protect your emotional well-being. This safety filter becomes your go-to manual when navigating new relationships, enabling you to recognize warning signs before they spiral into more complex issues. The wisdom of the Stoics can further guide you here. They believed that true peace of mind depends on understanding and managing your own emotions, values, and expectations. Reflect on what matters most to you, your core values, your non-negotiables, and ensure that anyone who enters your life respects them. If someone's actions or words disrupt your emotional balance or challenge your values without consideration for your well-being, it's a glaring red flag. As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, wisely noted, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. This guidance encourages us to stay mindful of how potential partners affect us emotionally and mentally, reminding us that we deserve relationships that enhance our peace, not erode it. Suppose you've recently met someone who, initially, impresses you with charm and attentiveness. They seem genuinely interested in you and express a desire for a close, committed relationship. Yet as time goes on, you notice behaviors that feel invasive. They pressure you to spend every moment together, react with jealousy if you're busy, and begin to subtly discourage you from pursuing your own interests. It's tempting to excuse these actions as signs of deep affection, but your list of red flags, crafted with past lessons in mind, might tell you otherwise. By having this list, you'll recognize these behaviors as signs of possessiveness or control rather than love, helping you to step back and evaluate the relationship with clarity. A helpful addition to your red flag list is a set of personal principles inspired by Stoic philosophy. The Stoics emphasize that emotional resilience and happiness stem from within, not from others. To build fulfilling connections, start by setting boundaries that protect your sense of self. When someone respects those boundaries, it shows they value you for who you are, not what you can do for them. If, however, they disregard your limits, this reveals more about them than you. It's a sign they may not have the emotional maturity to participate in a balanced relationship. As you define your boundaries, consider what behaviors align with a healthy relationship. Before diving into a new relationship like it's an exhilarating carnival ride, take a moment to consult your red flag list. Think of this list as a shield against the pitfalls of emotional dependency and a guide that keeps you grounded in self-respect. With each potential red flag you identify, you're one step closer to a relationship that respects your inner balance. After all, love that doesn't honor your boundaries and values is like a broken compass, leading you astray and keeping you from the happiness you deserve. In the words of a wise Stoic proverb, "He who ignores warning signs loses his way on the path to happiness." So keep that list close, embrace your standards, and let genuine love, not emotional chaos, find you. Remember, the right relationship will enhance your life, not drain it. And by being clear on your red flags, you're ensuring you welcome only the relationships that truly honor and uplift you. 9. Don't accept receiving less than you give. Relationships, those unpredictable journeys where maps get lost and compasses seem to spin out of control. Many of us know what it's like to pour ourselves into someone else, only to find that the other person is playing hide and seek with the concept of reciprocation. If you've ever felt like you're chasing an emotional ghost, putting in time and energy only to be met with half-hearted effort, it's time to reset your compass. You deserve a relationship where what you give is met with genuine appreciation and mutual effort. The goal here isn't about equal give and take like trading hugs for compliments or tallying who did what. Instead, it's about cultivating a sense of balance and respect where both people feel valued. Genuine reciprocity is that subtle, powerful exchange where each person feels enriched, a steady rhythm of giving and receiving that fuels the relationship. And here's where Stoic wisdom guides us. The Stoics taught us that true generosity is valuable, but knowing when to receive is just as essential. Seneca once said, "No man is good who does not know how to give. No man is generous who does not know how to receive." When you're building a house brick by brick, pouring energy into every detail to make it perfect, but somewhere along the way you notice the person you've hired to help isn't showing up. They're clocking out early, leaving work unfinished. Sure, the house will stand if you keep doing all the work, but what kind of home is it if you're the only one putting in effort? Relationships work the same way. If you're continually giving without any balance, you're left with a structure that may look solid on the outside, but feels hollow and unsustainable. In a healthy relationship, there's a natural back and forth where each partner feels seen, appreciated, and respected. But this only happens when both people actively show up. So how do you prevent your generosity from turning into an endless, well, that others dip into without reciprocation? Start by setting clear boundaries. You don't have to make every interaction a negotiation, but having a mutual understanding of what you both want and need helps set the tone for balance. Next, pay close attention to actions over words. Someone might tell you they value you, but if they rarely show up when you need them, that's a warning sign. In practical terms, if you're giving 100% and the other person is barely meeting you with 10%, it's not a partnership. It's a one-sided arrangement. As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, wisely pointed out, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. This means watching how people act more than what they say, because actions reveal their priorities. True, reciprocity doesn't mean keeping score. It means both people are willing to give and receive, to grow together and support each other. It's a balance, a rhythm, where you're not constantly the hero or caretaker, but rather a partner, an equal participant. Too often, people fall into the trap of giving endlessly, hoping it will inspire the other person to do the same. But relationships aren't built on silent hopes. They're sustained through mutual investment. Just as you need water and sunlight, for a garden to grow, relationships thrive on shared effort and energy. When both people are committed, the relationship becomes a place of mutual respect and encouragement, where each person feels they can flourish. And if you're wondering why you should hold out for this kind of relationship, here's the answer. Because you deserve it. Don't accept less than what you're willing to give, not because you're expecting a transactional exchange, but because a fulfilling relationship needs that balance of give and take to truly thrive. It's easy to lose sight of this and to settle, especially if you're used to being the one who always gives. But the value of a relationship isn't measured by how much you're willing to sacrifice. It's reflected in the quality of what both people bring to the table. After all, as the Stoic proverb says, one should give as long as it brings peace, but to give endlessly without return is to walk a road towards sorrow. So, adjust your compass and seek relationships grounded in genuine reciprocity. Keep this idea close to heart. The worth of a connection is found not in how much you give, but in the mutual exchange that you both create. It's about ensuring that your time, care, and energy are invested in someone who values them as deeply as you do. This is what transforms a relationship from a hollow structure into a true home, a place where you feel safe, appreciated, and valued. So move forward with confidence, honor your worth, and know that the right relationships will meet you halfway, creating a partnership that reflects both effort and respect. Ready to claim your independence? Type "breaking free" in the comments to show you're embracing this Stoic path to self-mastery. Don't miss what's next. Together, we'll dive even deeper into building unshakable resilience. 10. Communicate assertively. Speaking up or staying silent. That's the decision that defines assertive communication, a critical step in moving away from emotional dependency. Have you ever felt like an open book gathering dust on a dark shelf, waiting for someone to come along and understand what you truly think and feel? Navigating relationships can sometimes feel like being in a vast desert where emotional dependency leaves you stranded without direction. In these situations, assertive communication becomes both your compass and your map. Without it, we risk expecting others to interpret our thoughts and feelings, leaving our emotional well-being in their hands. Instead of being that quiet, unread book, assertive communication transforms you into a bestseller, a story that's clear, engaging, and understood by those around you. Think about a party where everyone's dancing and having fun, yet you're standing off to the side, waiting for someone to invite you in. That hesitation to speak up mirrors what happens in relationships when we don't communicate our needs clearly, hoping others will intuitively understand us. Assertiveness isn't just about speaking clearly. It's about preventing our minds from becoming a maze of unspoken thoughts and suppressed emotions. Being assertive is like holding a compass instead of a crystal ball. You're not waiting for others to guess what's on your mind. You're choosing to communicate directly and respectfully. As the Stoics believed, clarity in our words is as essential as clarity in our thoughts, bringing inner peace and avoiding misunderstandings that fuel dependency. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Be clear in your intentions and firm in your purpose, for in knowing yourself you find strength." This is the foundation of assertiveness, expressing yourself so that others don't have to interpret or fill in the gaps. To practice assertive communication, start by expressing yourself directly and respectfully. Think of it like this. If you spill a drink, you don't just stare at the mess hoping it will clean itself up. Instead, you say, "I spilled this, let me take care of it." Similarly, when something bothers you in a relationship, state it clearly and respectfully without hiding behind vague hints. You're not being confrontational. You're simply taking responsibility for your feelings, like the server responsible for managing their own section. Being direct, though, doesn't mean being harsh. It means addressing the issue without letting it fester into resentment. Another effective technique is to use I statements instead of you statements. When we say, "You never listen to me," it often sounds accusatory, leading the other person to feel defensive. Instead, try framing it as, "I feel unheard when I don't feel listened to." This subtle shift transforms the conversation from an attack to an open expression of your feelings. This approach softens the tone, allowing both people to focus on the issue without feeling attacked. It's like steering a ship toward understanding rather than conflict, creating an atmosphere where both sides are willing to listen and respond with empathy. Active listening is the third pillar of assertive communication, and it's just as essential as speaking. It's not enough to express yourself, you also need to truly listen to the other person. Active listening means giving your full attention, even if what's being shared isn't the most thrilling story. Imagine someone is telling you about their pet cat's routine. Rather than tuning out or waiting impatiently for your turn to speak, engage with what they're saying. This act of listening not only deepens your understanding of the other person, but also strengthens the bond between you. Active listening shows that you value their perspective, creating a mutual respect that forms the foundation of meaningful communication. Assertive communication isn't about being the loudest voice in the room or the hero who solves every conflict. It's about being clear, confident, and respectful, allowing you to weather emotional storms without losing your direction. When you speak up assertively, you set boundaries that protect you from falling into emotional dependency, building healthier, more balanced relationships in the process. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that mastering our emotions and communicating clearly are keys to a peaceful life. By being assertive, you avoid the traps of unexpressed feelings, which only lead to misunderstandings and resentment. Thank you for joining us on this journey to break free from emotional dependency. Remember, these principles of Stoicism aren't just ideas, they're tools for real change, helping you build resilience and inner peace in daily life. If you're ready to take this challenge forward, drop a comment saying, "Better alone than in bad company," to show your commitment to personal growth. I'm excited to hear your success stories and insights. Don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life and turn on notifications so we can continue exploring these transformative ideas together. Check out the last 2 videos if you haven't already. They'll help deepen your understanding. Thank you for your time and support, and I look forward to seeing you in our next adventure.